With the news that Prince Harry has decided to give up being an innermost member of the royal family, splitting his time between the UK and America, spending more time with his American wife and eventually their children, I thought today was an apt time to take a trip back to a simpler time when kings were kings and lords were lords, back to one of our favorite towns, our favorite little abbey, if you will. Specifically, this week we're going to be talking about Downton Abbey. Now, I realize that intro may have been a little confusing for some of you. Did you not know there was a Downton Abbey movie? It was a show, yes. Also a movie. So we're going to be talking about the movie, not the show. Not that I couldn't talk about the show, because I'll tell you. Took me about 4 months in 2019, but I watched all 6 seasons of Downton Abbey to get ready for the movie. Did I want to? At the beginning, no. I'll be honest. I was not a huge fan of the show when it was first on. I didn't like the crazy hysteria around it. I didn't get it. I don't generally like period pieces, but then, I don't know, mid-season 2, it was me who was suggesting, hey, why don't we check out an episode of Downton Abbey? Feels like we haven't watched one in a couple of days. And although we kind of tracked it out to make sure that we were finished before the movie debuted in September or October time, we finished way early. Probably midsummer, we were done because I was so enthralled by the series that I was ready for the movie to come out. I kind of feel a little bit about it the way I guess that people feel about Harry Potter when it was that time. I missed, obviously, it's a little bit of a mixture overall. It's the Harry Potter fandom. It's the way that Breaking Bad came on so suddenly in season 3 and 4 when people really started watching it on Netflix. I had a mixture of both of those emotions where I was super intense about it. There was an ability to find a fandom out there to join, but I was really late to the show. There were most people who had watched the show had been following along since the beginning and were super intense fans. I'm also just not a super intense fan of most things. So for me, it wasn't a huge deal. It was, hey, I like this show. Let me go check it out. Nevertheless, that fall, we got to take a trip back, a little less time for me than most people, a trip back to Downton and the family that we love so much. But before we get too far along, let's take a little break right here and jump into the pleasantries, shall we? I feel as though it's especially important with this movie to get into the pleasantries. Downton Abbey was directed by Michael Engler. It was written by Julian Fellowes. And of course, it's based on the characters created by Julian Fellowes. Downton Abbey has, of course, an amazing cast, a large cast. So if you want the full list, I encourage you to go check it out. I'm going to point out some of my favorites. Off the top of the list, Maggie Smith as Violet Crawley, just an amazing character portrayal, and I hated her at the beginning. I came to love her the longer we were along, and I loved her in the movie presentation of the universe. Michelle Dockery as Lady Mary Talbot, our very favorite daughter who just couldn't seem to get it together, and even when she did, the universe interceded. Matthew Good as her husband Henry Talbot, Joanne Froggatt as Mary Bates, Brendan Coyle as her husband, Mr. Bates, one of my favorite actors now, who I have come to love when finding him in other places because he's been so prolific and I just didn't know who he was, Jim Carter as Mr. Carson. Such a fantastic performance. The Earl and Lady of Grantham. The entire house staff. I talked about Jim Carter, but the entire house staff does such an amazing job in this. The daughters do a fantastic job in this. Missing Sibby. Really wish Sibby had made it, but spoiler alert, Sibby didn't make it through season 4. The service for the Royals were excellent. They're not our familiar characters that we love so much, but the actors did such a great job. And I don't really want to get into all of them. You can check out the whole list, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite actors in this. Alan Leach as Tom Branson, the character I probably identify most with in so many different things. Obviously, in this, he plays an Irish nationalist who was brought on to work for the Earl of Grantham, fell in love with his daughter, snuck away with his daughter, had a family, came back, and just pushes down all of that revolutionary kind of communist ideal to keep the family happy and to keep his daughter happy and to live a normal life. I see you, Tom. Tom, you're my boy, Tom. So we can say offhand that this review is going to be a little shorter than most of them. The main reason being If you like Downton Abbey, you've probably seen it, and if you don't like it, you didn't see it on purpose. That doesn't mean it's not worthy of a review, because by doing one movie review, I might be able to open up an entire universe. 6 seasons of a fantastic BBC show and a movie, and possibly another movie coming, just by doing one review. So if I could convince you that this is worthwhile, then maybe, just maybe, you'll open your world to it as well. So just a quick summary. Not the entire 6 seasons, which I almost got into earlier, but here we go. Where we last left the Crawley family, the Earl of Grantham and his family, was that all was well in Downton. After 6 seasons of ups and downs and crisis and coming together, it seemed like it was all working out. Everything was happening exactly as it should, and everyone had found a bit of happiness, if not the happiness that was really driving their lives. Most notably, Mr. Carson had retired and was going home with his wife. She'd continue to work in the house. His undervalet would step up and take his job because it was time for him to retire. They didn't really need him anymore. He could be more of an advisor, an elder statesman than a real servant. Flash forward to the movie. It's been a few years and things are changing. George V is still on the throne. His wife, Mary, Queen of England, but crisis is coming. Now, this I'll tell you isn't really covered in the movie. It's more of my understanding of it. It's me having researched a little bit about it after watching the movie. There was a crisis happening in the UK. Germany had become an enemy in World War I. We saw that in the series itself during, I think, season 5 was the series that the season the war was happening. And the British monarchy is in fact German. They're from Germany. I believe their names were Saxe, Coax, something. I really wish I knew what that was. It's going to drive me crazy. Nonetheless, King George decided that he needed to anglicize himself, and they became known as the House of Windsor. So his name was George Windsor and Mary Windsor, and their children would be known as the Windsors, and their children Edward, David, who would become Edward VI. And just realizing earlier, I think I said George V, and I think his son became George V. He's George IV, maybe. Dang it. I feel like I should know my history better than this, but it's British history. It doesn't really matter, right? It's a late, great empire. Yeah. Anyway, they would all become the Windsors, but nonetheless, after the war, they went on a decade-long tour to try and show the English people how English they were. Forget about our old name. This is our new name. We are English just like you. And as part of that, they visited these small places all around the kingdom. And Downton is one of those places. It's the land holdings of the Earl of Grantham and the protector of Downton in his abbey. So we open to find out that the king and queen are coming for a visit, and of course all preparations need to be made. If you've seen anything about the previous seasons, money is not so available. It's hard to be a land-owning family. It's hard to be a lord or an earl or duke in England in the time between the wars. A little bit of a spoiler, the Earl of Grantham made some bad investments, lost a bit of money. So now they need to go from being completely geared down, the way they had been when we left the series, to geared up. We need to give the royals the visit that they deserve. And of course, this requires going to get Mr. Carson and bringing him back in so that he can advise the house on what needs to be done. Because although we like the new guy, he's young. And maybe he doesn't know everything he needs to know about hosting royals. And nothing can go smoothly. It never does in Downton Abbey. Problems arise. And will they have everything ready to go? Will the house be acceptable to the royals, or will they be ashamed? And of course, we're off to the races. What else do you need for a driving storyline than a 1927 visit by a monarch that really has no power and doesn't really do anything to an ancient house that doesn't really do anything? Listen, it's very British. Might be a little much for you. I do want to take a quick opportunity to talk about some spoilers from the movie. No, maybe not even spoilers, but just stuff that happens in the movie. It's been out for like 6 months, folks. But yeah, so if you don't want to hear the spoilers, if maybe you want to see the movie unencumbered, go ahead and skip on down to the next time down below, because the spoilers are about to start right now. So if you've seen anything about Downton Abbey, if you've watched Downton Abbey, this is exactly what I wanted, exactly what I expected. One of the major complaints I heard when it first came out was, man, it's just a really long Downton Abbey episode. Yeah, thank you. Great. That's what I want. I love the show. I want to see the family again. I want to see new hijinks and new adventures. Give it to me. I also love it because Tom plays a huge part in the storyline. We haven't really seen him a lot since his return from Ireland after Sibby's death. I guess he did play a bit of a part when he left for the U.S. and when he came back. But mostly those storylines are about him coming and going and ruining things for the family. Maybe this is not that much different because it was a threat to the family because of him. But my inner revolutionary kind of hoped things were as they seemed. That Tom was a member of the IRA and was going to do something bad to the royals while they were there. Obviously, that would have been different from history because that didn't actually happen. But it would have been nice, right? It would have been nice to see a plot and see Tom rise as a hero. My little revolutionary heart went aflutter. But instead they get visited by the royal squad, people who come in to get everything ready for the king and queen to visit. There's clashing from them, of course. And in the end, you can't outsmart and you can't out-trick our Downton family crew. That's just what happens. They prove themselves to be every bit as capable, every bit as elegant, every bit as everything as the royals' preparation people themselves. And of course, there are tons of B stories. There's the B story about Maud and Violet Crawley. This character is sound fantastic. It's one of my favorite portrayals by Maggie Smith. I hated her, I love her. I hate her, I love her. That's something fantastic that you really want to see in an actress. And she's really able to pull off that character, almost as if it's really her in real life. But then there's the drama between Maud and her lady-in-waiting / who is she really? I don't know. And, the real point of this is the visit to Down. So even Tom's story is a bit of a B story to getting ready for the king to come, having Carson come in to replace Thomas Barrow, or to just step aside to Thomas Barrow and join the crew. Like all of these things, it's just, again, it's a really long episode. It was almost like, I think the episodes were 40 minutes long in the season. So we got 3 episodes all in one, a little more than 3 episodes all in one. And that's exactly what I want. I love the story. I love the characters. I love the actors portraying the characters. Just give me more. And they did. It looked and it felt exactly like the show. And that's really what you want, right? That's the thing. Down looks the same. It feels the same on the inside. We left it 3 years ago in their timeline. And I think it was 2 years in our timeline. But everything is just right there where we pick it up. That life continued and we joined them again. And I have to say that the saddest part, the thing I love about it being kind of like multiple episodes is that there are ups and downs and highs and lows the entire time. But that scene near the end where Violet is talking to Mary and Mary thinks she's caught her in some kind of thing with the trips to London, and she just admits that she's sick and that she doesn't have long to live. It really... I again, remember that I binge watched the entire 6 seasons and got super excited about the movie. And in a way, it feels like almost like losing a member of your own family, that you would have that same kind of ache where you're like, no, it can't be. No. But we don't get any more wrap up for that by the end of the movie. So I assume and I hope that Violet will return if there is another movie. But, she's an old lady. She lived a very full life. And I think that's how she expressed it to Mary. And Mary and Edith are carrying on everything she could want. And Sibby, even in death, has carried on with little Sibby, her the lineage. And it's really funny that they kind of jump from that to Carson and Mrs. Hughes talking about the house and the family. And Carson just kind of summing it up and saying, this house has stood for about 500 years and it'll stand for another 100. And in that time, the Crawleys will still be here. Because Mary's done her duty and produced the male heir, and she's also done her duty in taking care of it to make sure it'll be there. It's not a sad ending. It's a bittersweet ending, I guess. And sometimes those are the best kind of endings altogether. It warms the cold, icy, tiny cockles of my heart. But I promise we'd be shorter. Let's get everybody back in here so we can wrap this thing up on a movie that's nearly 9 months old. Everybody's coming back in and joining us right now. So in the end, I think this movie is for a very particular kind of moviegoer. I know a lot of people who don't like British films / shows. They don't like period pieces. Frankly, I am one of those people. Generally speaking, this happens to be an exception. There are people who don't like the kind of slow burn that it takes to tell a story like this. That a BBC show turned into a movie is going to be a real slow burn. And also it's going to have, again, highs and lows. It's going to move more like a show than it is a movie. We don't get built up to that one moment and then released. It's kind of like little things in between and jumping back and forth between the B plots. And some people just aren't going to like that no matter what you do. So for them, maybe not the movie. But if you are willing to give that kind of movie a chance, this is the one to give it a chance with. It is exciting. It's modern, just modern enough that it's a period piece, but not too far back. It's stuff that you may have heard about in history class. It's family drama. It's country drama. I mean, UK, not United States, but it's all of the things that you could really want. It's a bunch of strangers who became workers, who became family, serving a family, and just the dynamic of the upstairs, downstairs, which you only really understand if you watch the show. I just really think, not that it's the perfect show, not that it's the perfect movie, but if you want to get into this kind of movie and this kind of show, this is the one to do it with. And I can say that with full confidence because I wasn't the one to go and watch that, and this is the one who got me in. So although you're not going to be able to see it in any theaters anywhere, Downton Abbey is available. The movie, not the show, although the show is too, I'm pretty sure, is available on streaming. So if you find yourself a rainy afternoon that just reminds you of slogging through London the last time you were there, maybe it'd be the opportunity to spool up Downton Abbey and check it out. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Everyman Movie Reviews in the books. I want to thank everyone for joining me, as you always do. It's amazing to see all the support that I'm getting for both the podcast and the video forms of these reviews. Right off the top, I want to say a huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon. I could not do this without you. I have a bunch of new equipment. I have even more ordered and on the way, and that is due large in part to my supporters on Patreon. And whether it's just $1 a month or even more significant donations, I appreciate every single one, and I want you to know thank you for everything that you do. Also, the moral support. I get a lot of moral support and messages from people on Patreon, and I really couldn't continue to do everything I do without you. If you want to become one of my patrons, it's super easy. Go on over to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek, and you can support all of the stuff that I'm doing. The Everyman Movie Reviews, the Rob Explains Everything videos, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff coming very shortly, so you're not going to want to miss any of that. And if you want to be a part of it, the books, the videos, the screenplays, everything, go on over to patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek and become a supporter. You can, of course, now find Everyman Movie Reviews on social media. We have a Facebook page and a Twitter and an Instagram. Find us on Instagram at Everyman Movie Reviews. Find us on Twitter at Everyman Movie and on Facebook at Everyman Movie Reviews. You can find me and my personal accounts at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. That's going to be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere at Robert N. Cheek. You can find these videos and more on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Rob Cheek. If you can't get enough of me, well, I do a weekly podcast with my buddy Corey. You can find that at ODN Anthem.com. And of course, you can find it in podcast form on any of your favorite podcatchers, but most importantly at anchor.fm/OD Anthem. You can also find it at youtube.com/OD Anthem for the video. And we record every episode live weekly, sometime between Saturday and Monday. If you follow us on social media at OD Anthem everywhere, you'll get a notification. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, all together at the same time. So come in and join us for the live recording and then check out the episode on Tuesday. New episodes of this show are every Thursday and then one in between. Usually it's going to be Sunday, but I can't promise anything, especially recently. So make sure you are checking it out. You can find it anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews. That's where you can find the podcast version of it. And if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you check out anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews /message, where you can send me a message and let me know what you think. If you're watching on YouTube, that's youtube.com/Rob Cheek. It's the Everyman Movie Reviews playlist. Again, new episodes on both will be available on Thursdays. I didn't get to all the Christmas movies that I wanted to for the 12 days of Christmas, but I saw the movies. I'm going to do the reviews. So now you guys are getting a little bit of Christmas in January as I wrap up those reviews and put those out for you. So keep an eye out for those bonus episodes as well. Thank you, as always, for all your support, for checking out the video. Make sure you check out robertncheek.com where you can find all of this and more. New episodes of Rob Explains Everything coming soon. New short videos coming soon. A vlog for my trip home coming soon. All of that. Keep an eye out on YouTube and on all over social media. So thank you for joining me. And as always, until next time, have a great week, everybody.